Hey everybody. Thanks for clicking on the Clean and Sober Stoner. I haven't done this in a long time. Normally I write my reviews, but honestly I get a better reach on YouTube, and this is a band that I think needs a much bigger reach. I made a huge mistake back at the beginning of February. I committed a cardinal sin for review sites and bloggers and reviewers. I fell in love with an album, and for 3 weeks, all I listened to was Nista. Honestly, this is one of the best albums I think I've ever heard. It's definitely one of the best debuts I've ever heard. To me, it's just a mind blowing album. Like, right out the gate on their first song, which is called Drown Me, immediately they use a clean, possibly an acoustic guitar beginning that sets the stage for everything that's going to come for the next 7 minutes and 34 seconds. And by the way, that's the shortest song on the album. Uh, Immediately, the band that came to my mind was Cowboy Junkies, a band not known that much in the stoner doom realm, but they can get heavy and they can get a little psych. They don't do it nearly often enough. But Cowboy Junkies has a way of setting a really somber or moody or intense stage with their guitars, and then Margot Timmons with her voice, which is really generational in so many different ways. And Nista does the same thing, except this time, the most beautiful voice in the world I've ever heard is playing kind of post rock. And what it really reminds me of, the best way I can come up with it was, it's like Cowboy Junkies went to a Mesa concert with Somali Yacht Club, and they decided to throw something together. That really is the best way that I can describe this album. Like I said, the initial song had my mind blown with mostly the vocal work of Ismena. And I should tell you that Nista is a four-piece band out of Utrecht in Netherlands, otherwise known as Holland. By the way, one country, three names. They're Dutch, they're from Holland, Netherlands. I can't keep up. And that's how many layers Nista has, right? There's a lot to think about. So again, it's Ismena on vocals, Patrick on guitar, Jaap is on bass, and Rick is on drums. And they've put out this little EP, which to me is actually more of an album. The way I look at it, the measuring stick is Black Sabbath's Master of Reality. Anything that's longer than Master of Reality, can we just call it an album? That aside, when they really gripped me, my favorite song off the album, and it's already one of my favorite songs ever, is called The Light. Now, The Light starts out with their hypnotic guitar work. Ismena comes in with her vocals. And folks, what makes Nista, I think, exceptional is these are love songs, and they're not smarmy love songs like we got from Paul McCartney and Wings, so many that he actually wrote a song called Silly Love Songs. These are really intense songs about loss, about yearning. The Light is all about a woman being in love with someone and realizing it's all wrong, and realizing that her lover is going to leave her. And it's extremely effective. What they do to set them apart is, if I remember right, it's about at the 3 minute, 3:54 mark, I think it is. Like the main chorus, the main song itself goes away, and they start doing this very, post rocky type guitar part that just repeats hypnotically. And the way it comes across to me is that's how a relationship goes. And then they detune, and it actually sounds like they actually detune. And it's like it is representing that exact moment when the relationship falls apart. And it's just great. It's really jarring. It definitely woke me up out of the trance-like state. The other thing that Nista does, And it's a criticism I have about a lot of music that I love, whether it's Maisie Starr, whether it's Sarah McLachlan, just these wonderful female bass vocal bands, is they'll do really intense music, but they don't take it that next step. They don't lean into it and give us the heavy, crushing power chords. Nista leans into that. But the funny thing is, once the power chords come in, it's unlike anything else I've heard. I live in a world of oversaturated tube amps and fuzz pedals. And a lot of times the guitar is tuned down really low and the bass and the guitar exist, in the same sonic space. And what Nista's done, and I don't know if it's necessarily Patrick or if it's the engineering and mastering, but they kind of suck all the bass and the low mids out of the guitar when he goes into overdrive. And the effect is pretty remarkable because you have this world class rhythm section. The drums and the bass are like virtually perfectly executed through the whole album. So you have that layer, then you have the guitar layer, and they still leave sonic space for the vocals. It's an incredible album. The last time I looked on Spotify, they only had about 205 monthly users, and that's just really a shame. I really think that there's at least 100,000 people out there that need to hear this album, that would love this album. By the way, this isn't your skull crushing, yeah, type concert music. This is the stuff that I think is perfect for 3 in the morning after you've seen Acid King or after you've seen Yob, and you gotta kind of chill out with your wife, with your old lady, with your spouse. It's 3 in the morning. Those of you that smoke, you grab your last cigarette, you grab your last beer. In my case, would be my last cup of water, and you just light some incense and just kind of ease down, let the adrenaline out of you. It's an emotional journey from start to finish. I think it is impeccably written. It is perfectly executed. It clearly is the number one album for me this month. So Nista, I highly recommend. And by the way, this album is so good, it makes me painfully aware of how small Clean and Sober actually is. I don't have the kind of reach to get this album into the public's attention. So I've got the links down below. If you wouldn't mind, listen to the song. I'm choosing The Light, which is my favorite song of the album. Give it a listen. And if you feel even a quarter of what I feel towards this album, please listen to it all the way. Please go ahead and follow them and maybe even share this or share the stuff on your social network, because I'm not kidding. This is music that I think, in my opinion, could actually be a gold album, even though we don't have those nowadays. It's not commercial at all, though. The songs, they average, the average is probably 8 minutes, 30 seconds. They use a lot of heavy psych. They use a lot of post rock. They have some drone. And yes, they have some doom. The final song, Hear Me Out, is just epic the way that they carry that out at the end. I think it has something for everybody. But this isn't a commercial album because it's very artistic, and I feel like they've thrown everything they can at this album, and just give them a shot. Let me know in the comments, maybe, or send me an IM or whatever. Let me know if you listen to this and if you feel the same way. Again, the name of the band is Nista. The name of the album is Nista. And you've been watching Clean and Sober Stoner. And this is Clean and Sober Stoner saying, dude,